Donald Trump, and who exactly is he such a threat to that these people go to some pretty extreme measures to try, I guess, to stop him from running, from being president once more? Well, let me tell you what I knew about the guy, or just American culture, before he became president. He's one of them people, back in the 80s or something. He became famous because he was a millionaire, entrepreneur, real estate guy, Trump Towers or Trump Plaza or whatever. When I was down in New York City, I went, it was one of the things to go into his building and wander around. It was pretty neat, and he kind of got his notoriety and fame back then, like anybody who's a millionaire or something like that. And he was on some TV shows. He did a cameo appearance and stuff. It was pretty interesting. So I always thought, it wasn't until he ran for president, I always thought that he did try to run for president. And when he finally did announce that he was going to run for president, I guess when I started doing some investigation, he would do a study, is what he would do, is he would announce. Because I remember, not really paying attention because you never thought the guy would ever get elected, but he would say he'd run for president or something. And what it was is he would do a study. And he would pay like $1 million and have this think tank project his chances of being president. And he did that several times. He made a public announcement, years ago. But he never did run or try to get endorsed by any party. Until the one time he did, and he said, I'm going to run for president. And I remember studying, and that's when I started gathering all the information in that. And he actually did get the nomination, and he was elected. Okay. Which there were a lot of naysayers and everything else, but he did. He did get elected. So how politics works, or whatever, I ain't going to go into the details because I don't know. It's anybody's guess. But I'll tell you what, personally, my opinion and what happened to me personally in my life, how this goes. I look at presidents in terms of my work in a factory as a blue-collar worker, middle-class guy that works in a factory, nondescript job. There's millions of people just like me, okay? I'm not into the tech industry. I'm not doing anything innovative. Okay, I'm just the person that helps the country, the economy, function. Simple as that. Every time we get a Republican or a certain president in, I'm always working. Okay? I always have work. I have plenty of work. I have money. Okay, I earn an honest living. Okay? That's kind of how I do it. I don't receive anything from the government, and doubt that I ever will, no matter how hard I try. But that's the way it goes. During the Obama administration, there was that recession. I was out of work for a very long time, and so was a good part of the country during that recessionary period there, or whatever it was. And they were talking about how this can tilt right into a depression. Okay? So this went on, we gradually recovered, and of course it was pretty rough to get by during that time. And then once, we had 8 years of this nonsense where every year was a record year for the sale of guns. You couldn't find ammunition. You couldn't find reloading components, at any price at all. And then all of a sudden, Donald Trump wins this election. And like months before the election, or just right after it, they were looking at me at work and they said, look, things have been kind of lean, you know, halfway through the week, once you finish up these jobs on your machines, there's not another job in the queue or waiting to be run. So we might have to send you home for a day or two this week and hope we get something going next week. Now I remember telling him that, yeah, that's okay. I said, I understand that. But no, it was right during the election time there. Then Trump gets elected, and all of a sudden there's a reversal. And I went from where it's hard to get my 40 hours in to where now within a few months, I'm getting, 50, 60 hours a week in. And the whole time Trump was president, that's how it was. I mean, it was manufacturing. I measure it by something I know, is orders and manufacturing. And actually, a lot of things he did during his administration changed this country greatly, okay? You know, all the rhetoric and everything, make America great again, but for some odd reason, whoever backed him or whatever forces were behind him politically, it kind of reversed what was going on, the prior 8 years. And just how people attack this guy. Now, granted, when he makes his speeches and that, he isn't the most eloquent orator that there is, all right? But a lot of people support him and believe in what he says, because it's pretty plain and simple. We should run this country. We shouldn't, one of his things was criticizing NATO and that. And now it's like he was going to lose the election. They knew that. They tried impeaching him. And the grounds to that was, if they did impeach him, even though he was voted out of office, they knew he wasn't, going to retain the office. They wanted it on the record that he was impeached, so this would bar him from ever running for president again. Now, I don't know the rules. I do know that you can only be the president for 2 terms. There's a limit to the terms of president. Well, he only got 1. So, of course, immediately during all this turmoil and stuff, these turbulent times that we went through, everyone's talking about, will he run again? And it appears that they're trying very hard, this latest thing to blow up about him and paying that money to this woman for non-discretionary, whatever the hell, hush money you want to call it. And now they're dragging this up, and I guess they proved that the documentation or the grounds or something that they were going to bring him to court, have him arrested and booked and all this other stuff, that was all fictitious. I guess that's the breaking news today. It's all crazy. So you wonder to yourself, I really don't pay attention. I have a bunch of other problems I'm dealing with. But I always wondered if he'd run again. And some theories are out there. The reason he didn't get elected is because there is going to be a financial issue or economic hardship is coming on all of us. We all know that. And they wanted him to tell the American public, look, this is going to happen, ain't nothing we can do. And he refused to do it. It's one grounds, and then that's why he wasn't elected. He's kind of fell out of favor with the Republican Party. A lot of people kind of aren't backing him. And in politics, it's all compromise and money, okay? And the thing about Trump is, when I kind of glanced and looked at who his supporters were and who they were pointing out, these people, they all kind of something, most of them have to do something with oil, okay, or fossil fuels. And now this big push for electric discs, banning gas stoves, banning any type of gasoline-powered lawnmowers or equipment, okay? Everything's got to be electric, all right? And I've noticed this push. Now, it used to be, going way back to the 70s when we had the first oil crisis, and America was a different place. They said, okay, our gas prices are going to go up because of an embargo from overseas, and it's these evil foreigners that are destroying all this, you know, and making our gas prices go up. Okay, that's who's doing it. Back then, there were a lot of people who actually really believed in America and believed they can do better, and there were several people who just redesigned carburetors and engines that became more fuel efficient and would get, some said, up to 100 miles a gallon. These people went, patented this, and said, okay, here, I'm going to develop something. I'm an engineer. I'm going to develop something, go out of my way, and solve this problem and help save my country and the people and make things easy by designing something that you can install in a car and get 100 miles to the gallon. And I believe that's quite true. And these people, some say they threatened their lives, were offered a large sum of money and their patents were bought and never used. Okay? And the fact is, the major automobile manufacturers had bought the rights and understand this technology, and they really can build a vehicle that you can put on the road that runs on gasoline and get way, way, way more mileage than, what we're used to, say 20, 30 miles to the gallon. I believe that myself, okay? And what they're doing is they're releasing this very gradually, not to offset, because you're talking offsetting fortunes. Whole economies will collapse if you do this. So you're not going to get cheap gas. And this is what they torment us with, the gasoline prices and everything else. So somehow the people behind gas and keeping it going, I believe they're the ones that kind of back Trump. Because if you're looking at the people that oppose him, they're going for all this electric stuff, green, solar power, all this other stuff. Okay, so there's like these two huge conflicting groups. And of course, that energy, it's no longer gold and silver. I mean, for thousands of years, your money's backed with gold and silver. It's energy. It's energy, how you produce energy, how you make it. Because if you pull that out, that factor out, our whole civilization, not just the economy, our civilization collapse. If you turn off the power, if you cut off gasoline, oil, and everything else. This is the thing. And that's what we see going on with the Russian pipelines, everything else. Another thing too, he really didn't step on a Russian's toes too much and kind of had good relations with Putin, and that's, again, all of it like you see now, all over who's pumping natural gas, supplying to Europe, and all this other stuff. So I guess the threat is, and it's not just Trump the man, it's the people that that support him, that back him, his backers, are one group of people headed one way. And the opposition is backed by another group of people that are headed in a totally different direction, okay? And basically not a good thing for anyone on this planet. So, again, their last plot has been foiled. They're not going to indict him. I guess they're not going to arrest him now, and it's big news. But I don't really know if the Republicans would back him again to run for president again. Okay, there's some things going on in the background that I believe no matter what, for someone to come up and say, hey, I'm going to get control of this country again, we're going to reverse this and go back, I think we're beyond the point of that. There's going to be some problems, okay? And I don't believe, and then that's going to cause a rift if he gets in there, says one thing and things go south. But then again, there's an awful lot of people that support that man. Not so much the man, but his idealism, okay, is what gives people hope. And things in this country are so terrible that I believe they will support anyone that tries to even get things back to what most of us would call normal. All right. Anyone who stands out as a political candidate will get this, but there is an ongoing thing to stop him. They want to get him out of the way in terms of running for president once again. Okay, I know that's a fact. And so, I don't know, that's kind of my thoughts on it. I guess only time will tell. I don't know how much longer we got. Probably after this year we'll be finding out who's going to try to run, or maybe during this year we'll find out how the next elections, and that's going to be lining up and getting into it. So we'll see how much more fun we'll have. Okay. Well, guys, stay tuned.